Okay, so today's class is how to read and interpret your birth chart, full moon edition. So this is going to be how to pull up your birth chart, how to figure out how the full moon affects you, and to see what sign it's in so that every time there's a full moon and even a new moon, you'll be able to interpret your own birth chart and see how the house and the part of your life, what is affected by that full moon or new moon. So we'll go step by step, and let me go to the next slide. Okay, so who am I? So in astrology, I'm a Virgo sun, a Gemini moon, and a Sagittarius rising. In human design, if you know human design, I'm a 5/1 emotional manifesting generator. And in general, I feel like I'm a teacher of life. I love learning about things like astrology and human design and sharing them with others in order to empower them to make better decisions in terms of your life. I feel like there's a lot of systems out there, but whatever works for you ends up and helps you in life, like that's, if anything that I mentioned today helps you in having a more empowered life and figuring out decisions for the future, like that's a win for me. I feel like there's a lot of systems out there where people don't dive into certain subjects, but I think there's a lot of really good information where people can learn a lot from. And today, so we'll cover, if you don't have your birth chart, we're going to go step by step on how to pull your birth chart. And if you have your birth chart, we may be using a different system. So most people use Placidus system, but I use whole sign system, and I'll also explain to you what that means. We'll have a guide to the houses in astrology and what houses really mean. So this is a presentation that I'll be sending to you afterwards so you can have it. It does have all the guides to the houses, so you can go back and use it for future full moons or future new moons. And then we'll understand the full moon and how to interpret the full moon with your birth chart. And I'll have my own example, and I'll have other examples in order for you to really integrate this information and see how you can use it for yours. And we could even use your birth chart as an example. So how to get your birth chart. So if you have your birth chart information, we have the date of birth, including year. That's really important. Place of birth and time of birth. The time of birth is the most important out of all these. I mean, they're all important, but time of birth is actually what tells you what area of your life is going to be affected. If you have like unknown time of birth, then the unknown time of birth, it won't show you the house systems. It won't show you how it affects your life. So it's a little bit harder in that way. So time of birth is going to be really important. And if you don't have that today, you can always come back to this presentation and refer back to the birth chart and how to pull it and all that and do it on your own time. So pulling your birth chart, if you haven't pulled it before, or if you have, we're going to go to astro.com. That's my favorite website to go to. And I'm going to go into it right now and share my screen. Let me see. I think I need to stop sharing this one. Okay. So astro.com, all you do is put astro.com on the top. You're going to go into charts and calculations, and you'll see free charts, calculations, and data. There's a chart drawing, ascendant or extended chart selection. We're going to go ahead and use the extended chart selection, as that's going to help us choose the whole sign system. So horoscope, I have it for me. I already added my information on here, but if you haven't, feel free to do so for yourself. So you can put the gender, birthday, hour, and birth time. And let's put continue. Okay, so when we scroll down to the house system right here, it usually has default, and then there's all these different house systems, a lot of different that people use. The easiest and um, the most accurate for me, what I've noticed, is the whole sign system. So I'm going to go to the whole sign system here and just put whole signs and not move anything else and just put show the chart. So that pulls up my birth chart information. And before I move forward, any questions?
No questions.
Okay. So here's my birth chart example. So it shows it the same way I showed it. And then what's the difference? Okay, so if you can see here, what happens with whole sign systems is that every single piece of the pie is 30 degrees, and it it follows the 30 degrees throughout everything just so it simplifies everything. If you look at Placidus system, it actually some of them may appear smaller. Maybe they're like 18 degrees, or maybe there's one that has 40 degrees. But these are all consistent 30 degrees. There are 12 different pieces of the pie because there's 12 different zodiac signs, and they're all around here. And the houses are going to be on the inside. You'll see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Those are all the houses. And so what does house mean? So in astrology, the houses are the sections of the birth chart that represent the different aspects of life, which also represent the 12 zodiac signs. And when we look at whole sign systems and Placidus houses, what the difference is in whole sign system is that they're all equal sections. Like I mentioned, they're all 30 degrees. It starts with 0, ends with 30. And it's the most simple and easy to straightforward system to use. And it's good for beginners. The Placidus houses, which you probably see a lot of, actually now what I notice is a lot of people do either whole sign or Placidus. Those are the two major astrology systems that people use. And for Placidus, it's like they're more variable sizes and the houses can vary in size. So, but it's a little bit harder to actually understand what zodiac sign your house is in sometimes. So that's why I don't use it too often, because it doesn't give me that full picture, whereas whole sign systems does. But both of these are very popular, and then you can choose whichever one you decide. But today we're going to be using whole sign system. Okay, so the next one will be guide to houses in astrology, but we want to look at where Sagittarius is. So let's go back to our birth chart. So if you find Sagittarius is going to be the one that has like an arrow. So this one right here. And so you look at what house your Sagittarius is in. So look at that house number. And then when you have it, we're going to go through what it means, what it's going to mean for you for the full moon. So for me, it's in the first house. Since my ascendant is in Sagittarius, it means it's my first house. So for me, the full moon is about self, identity, and personal goals. So during this time, for me, it's like I may feel a sense of self-awareness, a desire to focus on personal goals, and basically reflect on how you want to present yourself. So for me, the best thing for me to do is basically do this teaching, like go and teach people what I know and become that identity that I've always wanted to be. So for me, it's very clear because we're in the full moon in Sagittarius, and this is affecting me in my first house. And here I am teaching a class on full moon. And so if you want to write down in the chat where your house is, we can go through it. But I will go into the second house. And so the second house is finances, values, and possessions. So, and also just so you know, these house systems, this is something you can use for any zodiac sign anytime in the next full moon and the next new moon, wherever the house lands, these are always going to maintain and be like consistent. So second house is always finances, values, and possessions. It can also mean self-worth. So it's a good time to assess your financial situation if you're in the second house. For the third house, it can be communication, siblings, immediate environment. It's also short distance travel. So for the third house, you might have important conversations, resolve misunderstandings, or gain new insights. Go to the next one. So if yours is in the fourth house, that's home, family, and roots. So those are all family matters and home life. That's what takes center stage at this time. It's a good time to address any domestic issues, spend quality time with family, and reflect on your roots and personal foundation. So anything revolving home is what gets affected in the fourth house. the fifth house is all about creativity, romance, and children. So it could be, you get pregnant at this time, who knows, or you're just more involved with children, whether it be your actual children or your nephews and nieces, or it can mean having a pet. So getting a pet or anything like that. So this is a good time to express yourself creatively as well. So it's a lot about passion and creativity as well. So it's a very happy house. I really like the fifth house. So this is where you want to enjoy hobbies, you want to nurture romantic connections. These are about flings too. All around that part of it. And then the sixth house is health, work, and daily routines. So you might focus on improving your well-being, refining your work habits, and addressing any issues in your daily routines. So this is a good time to initiate healthier habits. The sixth house rules all of that. So it's like your day-to-day routine. So what do you like to do in the morning? What do you like to do in the evening? Like it's all about taking care of yourself and what your routine looks like in order to be happier. So if yours is in the sixth house, you may want to look at your habits and see where you can improve your habits so that you are a little bit happier every day, and look at the bad habits that you also need to release. And maybe you want to release some of those habits and focus on, the next time that we have a new moon, to focus on releasing any of those bad habits. When looking at the seventh house is about partnerships, marriage, and relationships. So this could be a time for important developments in your personal or business relationships. This might work on resolving conflicts or deepening connections with significant others. So this is very related to one-on-one relationships. So that's partnerships in work, contracts like marriage, contracts at work, whether you're signing something or having like some kind of like lawyer or issue or anything like that. That is also a one-on-one relationship, and also like, boyfriend and girlfriend, husband and wife. For the eighth house is transformation, shared resources, and intimacy. During this eighth house, it's a really big transformational house. This is where you also can go through a lot of losses and gains. So it involves both, because this is like the Scorpio house. And in here, you may face significant changes or need to address financial matters involving others. So that's the shared resources piece. So that can mean also potentially getting, when someone dies, what is that called? Like inheritance. Yeah, an
Oh,
inheritance. So it's also time for introspection and personal growth. And when we get to the ninth house is higher education, travel, and philosophy. So during this time, maybe you feel a stronger desire to go adventure. You may want to go and learn something new. You want to explore new beliefs. Like this is a good time if you have the full moon in the ninth house. Like where do you want to grow? Where do you want to expand? It is a good time for you to expand your horizons if your full moon is in the ninth house. And let's see. And then the 10th house. So the 10th house is the career, reputation, and public life. So if you have the full moon in your 10th house, you want to be more seen outside in your public life. You may want to do something in your career where you make more career choices. You're talking to your manager about like wanting a salary increase, or you're talking to your manager about where you want to go in your life. It's also your long-term goals and any professional ambitions. So this is a really good time to focus on anything career related, your public life. So that means like what people know about you. So if you share, what you're doing, where you're going, like this is a good time for you to shine. And then if it is in the 11th house, it is really putting a focus on friendships and groups and goals. So for friendships, the 11th house is also the Aquarius house. So it rules friendships and group systems. It's like social networks, like anything like Facebook or Instagram, where you're collaborating with other groups, and also just like making more friends. So if your house on for your full moon is in the 11th house, and that's when you want to reach out to people and basically connect with some of your old friends, or reach out to new friends and see if you can get into new communities and make new friends. Like this is a very good time to do that if it's in the 11th house. And finally, the 12th house. So if your full moon lands on the 12th house, it's a very internal type of feeling. So this is going through your subconscious, some of maybe secrets come out, and also it's time to like kind of just go back and just be by yourself and kind of rethink about what you want, because the 12th house rules the 12th is ruled by Scorpio, so I mean Pisces, and it's a very dreamy zodiac sign. So it's definitely good for meditation or having some spiritual practices, something that just like quiets the environment around you so that you can go back to yourself and really think through what you want to do in life. So if you do have the full moon in the 12th house, like think about maybe there's also any subconscious beliefs or any systems that you might like any thoughts you have about yourself that you might want to remove and like build new ones. Like that's a good time to do it. And also a good time to just like be by yourself and just kind of think through how you want to present yourself to the world or how you want to move forward. So those are all the houses, and those are just something that you can use all the time. I also have this chart that can also be used. It talks about the same things. This is mostly in different like just different words. It's basically the same thing as the previous, but in a different manner, showing in a different manner. So how do you put it together? The way I put mine together is during full moons, we're ready to release. The new moons are more for like adding something, new beginnings, and something like that. So for me, since it's in the first house, and Cindy, yours is also in the first house, you're ready to release blank and embrace and make space for blank. So for an example of Sagittarius in the first house, I am ready to release an old identity and embrace and make space for my true identity. So that's just a very high level, simple thing, but it can be like, I'm ready to release like the fear of, I don't know, public speaking and embrace and make space for being a public speaker. So it can be that simple. And that is, yeah. So that's how we do it. Any questions? Also,
No, so just to clarify, every time, every full moon is in a different sign, and you have to focus on the house
yes.
and what it means.
Mm-hmm,
So
exactly.
each month is different, and each month you're focusing on different things,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly.
right?
So
Okay.
yeah. Yeah. So the last full moon, I believe it was in Scorpio. So then you would look at Scorpio. And also it's interesting that you, with the whole sign system, your Sagittarius is in the first house. Yeah, last time. So last time it was full moon in Scorpio. So during that time, that was in April 23, when it was in Scorpio, like for me, it would have been the 12th house. So it would be looking at my belief systems and all that stuff. And now it's like, okay, and it kind of goes with it because if it's like I'm looking at a belief system that I want to adopt, when it's the next sign, full moon in Sagittarius, it's like, okay, now that I want to adopt this new thing, how do I do it with my identity? And it kind of like goes together hand in hand. Yeah, so for you, if your Sag is also in your first house, then you would have 12th house is also was also your the full moon in Scorpio was your 12th house. Yeah, so it's
Got it.
that simple. It's really that simple. It's like look at the
Got it.
zodiac sign and then look at the house and then just put those two together and just think about like how that could affect you, or like if you're making like if you're thinking about your life and how you want to release anything, just focus on that part of life and that really helps put it together.
Got it. Thank you.
Okay. And I see my sisters are on. Do you guys have any questions?